Hello ladies and gents, in this video we will talk about data types and formatters in UI5. We have now implemented a full MVC pattern with our application here, but we have several formatting issues with our list items. First of all, our release date looks too long and not user-friendly. And second, our status here with the discontinued date is just displaying the discontinued date, but instead we want to display available or unavailable here. Unfortunately, data binding has one more feature we haven't covered yet for better formatting, which is called data types. Now let's see how it works by formatting our release date here. Let's go back to our code. And here we have our release date. Let me break this into multiple lines first. And we will update our text binding here. And we will convert this into object notation. And this part here, the actual binding path, will be named path. And next we can specify the type, and it will be sap.ui.model.type.date. And we can also pass in some format options, so format options which will also be in object notation. And first we have to specify our source format, and we say source, and another object pattern we say pattern. And here we specify our source pattern. If we check our app, it's 4 characters for year, 2 for month, 2 for day, so we can do it like for Ys and months, days, and then for the time here we can see the T, and then hours, minutes, and seconds. So it's hours, minutes, seconds, and then we have milliseconds here. And another option we can pass in is named style, and for now I will set it to short. And we need to close our format options object here and save. Let's go back to our app, and indeed we can see a much better formatted date now. And if we play with this style attribute here, another option we have is medium, which looks something like this. We have 3 characters for the month, and another one is long, and it looks like this with the full month names. I will switch back to short. And this source pattern we have to specify here, since our source, which is inside here, our JSON file, is a string. But when we start working with an OData service, we won't need to specify this part here. Let's save this again. And now let's format our price. Here is our price and currency. First of all, we now have a currency field in our JSON file, so let me bind it as well here. Product currency. And now we will use again a data type named currency for our price. Let me also convert this into the object notation here. And with the data type currency, we have a special case because we need 2 binding paths actually instead of 1 here, because we both need a price and a currency. So instead of path here, we will say parts, which will be an array. And the first one will be our price. The second one will be our currency. Let me copy it from here. And type, this time it will be SAP UI model type currency. And since we have the currency here, we can for now get rid of this number unit. So let's save and check. And now we can see our numbers look more like prices. But if you don't like this and prefer the currency below like we had before, We can also do that, so let me bring back the number unit, and we can hide the currency part here by passing again some format options, and we simply say show measure false, and again close our object, save, and now we are back to our previous formatting. And one quick info, the syntax we are using here with multiple parts of binding paths is named composite binding. Now we also want to format our availability status, which we want to display here. But data types will not be enough, so we have to use a custom formatter. Let's go ahead and create it. So under our model folder, we create a new file named formatter.js. And it will be a UI5 module, so we say SAP UI define or dependency array and callback function. And in here, let's enable the strict mode. And then we return an object, and we will create a formatter function named format availability text. And it will take in a value, and the value it will take in here will be our discontinued date that we are currently just displaying, this one here. And instead of the date, we want to compare it to the current date, and if it's less than or equal to today, we want to display unavailable, and else we want to display available. So first let's create those text entries in our properties file. One for available and one for unavailable. And in here, let's first get access to our resource bundle. Const bundle equals this dot get owner component, and then get model i18n, then dot get resource bundle. Okay, this should be closed here instead of here. And here we first check if there is actually a value passed in here, so it's not undefined. And then we convert this string into a JavaScript date object. And if it's less than or equal to today, so new date, we want to return obundle.getText. And we need unavailable here. Let me copy this, else we will return available. I think I copied the wrong one. We need the key. Yes, exactly. Now let's import our new formatter in our app controller. So let's go to our controller and import it. Again, we start by the namespace UI5 product list / model / formatter, and add it to our callback function, and let's save it as a local property named formatter, so here, and also name it formatter, and the value will be the formatter object or the module we have just imported. Now we can use it in our XML view, so let's go back to our app view, and here is our object status. Let's also convert this into object notation first. And this will be our path again. And this time, to use our formatter, we will specify the formatter with the keyword formatter. and we will begin with a dot, which will mean that the formatter function will be looked up in our controller, which belongs to this view. And since we named it formatter, we say formatter dot then the name of our formatter function, which is format availability text. We edit here, we save, and we're done. Now let's check. And surely we can see available or unavailable depending on the discontinued date here. And one more thing I would like to do is give a state attribute to this object status. So if it's available, I want it to look green, and if it's unavailable, I want it to be red. So let's go back and also create another formatter function for that. And I will name it format availability state this time. Again, we get the s value, and let me copy this return statement here because it will be fairly similar. And instead of texts here, we will return some state, value state, so to speak, and first we need to import it. So here in our dependency array, let's import it from SAP UI core value state. Add it to our callback function, and if the product is unavailable, we want to return value state.error. Otherwise, we want to return value state.success. Let's also save and add this to our view. So we go here. Let me break this into multiple lines as well. And the attribute we will use for this is called state, which will also be a binding in the object notation. Let's actually copy it from here. The value we want to pass is again the discontinued date, but the formatter function is different. Now it's this one. So let's update that, save. And if we check again, we can see that it's formatted nicely. And lastly, we can do some cleanup in our controller. Here, since we no longer need these get availability text and state, we can remove these. And also some unused dependencies. Value state, I think, is no longer used, so we can also get rid of this. Delete, save, and our app still works as expected. That would be all for this video, and hope to see you in the next one.